Why does scrolling through haul videos leave us feeling strangely hollow? You know that scene someone on TikTok shows off their latest $500 Shein haul or unboxes a stack of Amazon packages like it's Christmas morning? And for a brief moment, it feels like you're there, soaking up the thrill. You might even add a few things to your cart, but fast forward 24 hours and those impulse buys feel less like joy and more like clutter. That post-purchase high fades and you're left wondering, was it ever about the stuff at all? In today's video, we're unpacking the aesthetic of overconsumption, how buying things became not just normal, but aspirational, from the optimism-fueled shopping boom of the post-World War America, to the Technicolor mall culture of the 80s, to the endless scroll on TikTok haul videos. Every era has its own version of retail therapy. But what if all of this, the perfectly arranged Sephora shelves, the sheen of Apple packaging, the thrill of tapping add to cart, isn't really about the objects themselves, but about feeling something deeper, something more emotional?
Now, a word from our sponsor.
Alright, quick pause. This part of the video is sponsored by Cookie Jam, and I'm genuinely excited to share this because it's been my go-to little escape lately. You know that satisfying feeling when you finally cross something off your to-do list? That's Cookie Jam for me, but way more colorful. It's a totally free match 3-puzzle game where you help Chef Panda create desserts by matching cookies, candies, and cakes. There are over 11,000 levels, yes 11,000, and new ones drop every week. I'm currently trying to beat the streak I've been stuck on, and when I finally cracked that level last night, pure serotonin. And the best part, no Wi-Fi is needed. You can play literally anywhere, on the couch, in line, and even mid-scroll. There's daily spins, limited time events, and rare rewards you don't want to miss. I've been climbing the leaderboard and it's giving me that 100% completion energy I live for. Download Cookie Jam now for free using the link in my description or scan the QR code right here on the screen, and you'll unlock special in-game rewards like bonus gold and exclusive skins. And trust me, you'll be hooked on hitting those next milestones too. Thanks again to Cookie Jam for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to download it for free using the link below or scan the QR code on the screen to grab your bonus rewards. Happy matching, and let me know what level you get to. Alright, let's jump back into the main video. Chapter 1. The Post-War Shopping Boom. In the aftermath of World War II, America didn't just rebuild its economy, it redefined what happiness looked like. After years of rationing, loss, and uncertainty, the late 1940s and 50s ushered in an unprecedented era of optimism, stability, and perhaps most notably, consumerism. The war had jump-started the U.S. industrial machine, and once the bombs stopped dropping overseas, the same machinery was redirected toward a different kind of battlefield, the American living room. This wasn't just an economic shift. It was an emotional one. Shopping became the country's collective coping mechanism, a way to make sense of the trauma that had preceded it. For the first time, middle-class families had disposable income and access to products that once felt like luxuries. Refrigerators, washing machines, color televisions, even second cars. But these weren't just conveniences, they were symbols. A gleaming kitchen wasn't just a place to cook. It was a declaration of arrival, of being normal again in a post-war world. Policies like the GI Bill made home ownership more accessible, birthing the rise of suburbia and the dream of the white picket fence utopia. And with that new home came the implicit need to fill it. Department stores exploded in popularity. Catalogs like Sears and Montgomery Ward landed in mailboxes across the country, allowing Americans to window shop from the comfort of their couches. Shopping shifted from a necessity to an experience, from survival to identity. It was also during this time that advertising became less about the product and more about the promise. Think of those vintage ads featuring smiling housewives holding up a bottle of detergent like it held the secret to marital bliss. Soap didn't just clean, it preserved happiness. Cars didn't just transport us, they were the ultimate status symbol, signifiers of success, masculinity, and modernity. This was the birth of aspirational consumerism. The idea that buying certain things could bring you closer to the life you wanted. Pop culture at this time mirrored and reinforced this message. Shows like Leave It to Beaver and Father Knows Best depicted idealized families living in immaculate homes where the fridge was always full and the children never stained their perfectly ironed clothes. These weren't just TV shows, they were instructional manuals on how to live, what to buy, and what kind of lifestyle to chase. The good life was now something you could purchase, but beneath the glossy surface was something far more complex. The rush to accumulate goods, gadgets, even appearances wasn't just about joy. It was about anxiety. The Cold War loomed large in the background, and with it came deep, unsettling uncertainty. For many, the act of purchasing became a way to assert control in a chaotic world. If your home looked perfect, if your kitchen sparkled, if your kids had the latest toys, then maybe everything was really okay. Consumption became a psychological bomb. This was also a deeply gendered phenomenon. The rise of domestic consumerism placed women in a strange dual role. They were both the caretakers of the home and the primary targets of advertising. They were encouraged to shop endlessly, joyfully, efficiently, but only within the parameters of domesticity. A woman who bought the best vacuum wasn't frivolous, she was responsible. A woman who used the right brand of margarine wasn't indulgent, she was a good wife. Buying was transformed into a moral act. But here's the question, did it work? Were these families genuinely happier, more fulfilled, more connected? Or were they chasing a moving target, believing that the next big purchase, the next shiny appliance, would finally make everything feel right? The post-war boom shows us the beginning of a pattern that still defines us today. Buying not out of need, but out of a desire for emotional security. And even as the cultural backdrop has changed, from nuclear families to the Instagram influencers, the emotional impulse remains eerily familiar. We still want our lives to look perfect. We still believe that things, unboxed, arranged, can fix what's broken inside. So when we look at those glossy 1950s kitchens, we have to wonder, were they places of joy, or just very pretty distractions from a deeper dissatisfaction? And isn't that what we're still doing? Just with different aesthetics and newer packaging. Let's keep going. Chapter 2, 1980s mall culture and the experience. If the 1950s gave us the blueprint for consumerism as domestic bliss, the 1980s took it out of the house and turned it into a spectacle. This was the era when shopping transformed from necessity or even a convenience into a full-blown social event. Malls weren't just places to buy things, they were destinations, playgrounds, status theaters. They were where you went to see and be seen, where aesthetics met adolescence, and where buying became an immersive, almost cinematic experience. Malls in the 80s were enormous, glittering ecosystems of consumption, complete with food courts, arcades, department stores, and specialty boutiques. They served as teenage sanctuaries and middle-class leisure hubs alike. If today's youth have Instagram cafes and curated Pinterest feeds, teens in the 80s had Orange Julius stands, neon signage, and Saturday afternoons at Claire's. The mall wasn't just where you shopped, it was where you found your identity. Walking into the Gap or Contempo Casuals wasn't just a retail task, it was a rite of passage. You weren't just buying a sweater, you were selecting your role in a social script. Were you preppy punk or alternative? Every purchase was a performance and the mall was a stage. Your outfit, your Walkman, your soda cup, every detail told the world who you were. This shift from product-based consumption to experience-based consumption was key. It wasn't just about what you bought, it was about how you bought it. The soft glow of track lighting, the artificial palm trees, the faint scent of cinnamon in the air. All of it worked together to make shopping feel like a sensory event. You didn't need to buy anything to feel stimulated. The experience itself was a form of consumption. Pop culture not only reflected this trend, it amplified it. Films like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Clueless, and Back to the Future made malls central to the teenage experience. Even music videos and TV shows leaned into the aesthetic. Slow-mo, escalator shots, outfit montages, flirtations in food courts. The mall became a pop cultural icon, a symbol of freedom, possibility, and most importantly, youth. This was also the decade when branding exploded. Logos weren't just labels, they were statements. A shopping bag from the Limited or Benetton wasn't just packaging, it was a trophy, a signal that you were in. Consumerism became performative, and teens were more than willing participants. To shop was to participate in culture, to validate your belonging. But let's pause and ask, why did this feel so good? Why did a trip to the mall feel electric? Like something emotionally significant was happening. Part of the answer lies in the emotional architecture of malls themselves. Everything was designed to extend your stay, increase your desire, and provide a sense of belonging. Psychologists even studied how certain scents or music tempos influence purchasing behavior. The goal wasn't just to sell, it was to immerse, to provide an experience so emotionally rich that you came back again and again, chasing a feeling more than a product. In this sense, mall culture wasn't that different different from today's TikTok dopamine loops. Just as we now scroll endlessly through haul videos and shop with me content, people in the 80s wandered through stores, tried on outfits they couldn't afford, and left feeling emotionally sated. Even if their hands were empty, the consumption was in the fantasy as much as the item. And of course, let's not forget the social aspect. The mall was where friendships were cemented, crushes were discovered, and individuality was performed. It was one of the first places where teens could independently express their identity without parental supervision. It was freedom, but with air conditioning and a food court. By the late 1980s, malls had become so embedded in American culture that they were considered almost sacred spaces. They were aspirational, emotional, and communal. And like all cultural temples, they were deeply reflective of the values of their time. Namely, that happiness could be bought, curated, and worn like a brand. But looking back, one wonders, were we really addicted to the stuff or to the feeling the environment gave us? The buzz of fluorescent lighting, the camaraderie of group dressing room selfies, pre-smartphone, the hope that the right outfit might change your life. Is that nostalgia we feel now just an echo of the same high, an analog version of today's TikTok scroll, where consumption is constant, performative, and designed to hit us right in the emotional cortex? The mall was more than a place to shop. It was a space to belong, and in many ways, that search for belonging through what we buy and how we present it hasn't gone anywhere. It's just moved from escalators to algorithms. And I feel back in the day, like, you probably wouldn't end up consuming as much because, like now when you have a thought of buying something, it's so instant on your phone and then you buy it and then it comes in the mail and sometimes you almost forget and you're like, oh yeah, but if you have to drive down and go to the mall on your busy schedule, the moments in between, you probably wouldn't buy as much because it was more effort and the impulse buying wasn't as bad. Chapter 3, TikTok hauls and the digital shopping high. Welcome to the 2020s, the age of haul culture, where the shopping spree itself has become content. On platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, creators don't just buy products, they perform them. A single video might feature dozens of items laid out, modeled, and reviewed rapid fire, complete with price tags, affiliate links, and aesthetic backgrounds. The act of shopping is no longer private, nor is it primarily about use or need. It's about display, status, and emotional impact. Welcome to the world where overconsumption is not just normalized, it's aspirational. Haul videos are the evolution of everything that came before. The thrill of the mall, the promise of post-war advertising, the teenage shopping montage, but now they're condensed into short-form dopamine bursts, customized by algorithms to hit our specific desires. What once required a trip to the mall now happens in seconds. Endless scrolls of people opening packages, trying on outfits, and casually mentioning they might return this one. Viewers aren't just watching consumption, they're participating in it. The link is in the bio, the discount code is in the comments. The performance of shopping becomes contagious. And it's big business. Influencers are gifted items by brands, compensated through affiliate sales, or given sponsorships for simply mentioning a product. The joy of discovery has been commodified, streamlined, and scaled. Unboxing is no longer just about the product, it's about the packaging, the experience, and the aesthetic. A pretty box, crisp tissue paper, a brand sticker, it's the theater of abundance. But let's take a step back. What emotional need is this really filling? At its core, haul culture offers a kind of synthetic satisfaction. The act of watching someone unwrap 15 items in one sitting can feel bizarrely more gratifying than buying and wearing one great piece yourself. There's an immediacy to the content, a fast-forward version of pleasure, with none of the financial and emotional hangover. The viewers get the serotonin hit without the credit card debt, until, of course, they click through and start shopping too. In many ways, it's the digital reimagining of the 1950s catalog or the 1980s mall window. Only now, those displays are algorithmically selected for your exact taste, vulnerabilities, and impulses. Instagram and TikTok don't just show you what's trending, they know what you're likely to crave. The aesthetic of overconsumption has been optimized and engineered for maximum engagement. And that aesthetic is incredibly specific. Think clean girl unboxes from Zara, that girl routines featuring Glossier and Lululemon, or maximalist thrift hauls showcasing vintage statement pieces. Even the anti-haul genre, which critiques mindless consumption, is still paradoxically rooted in consumption. It's not just about what you buy, it's about how you present it. Whether it's minimalist or maximalist, every item tells a story, and that story is monetized. This performative joy of shopping is both seductive and strategic. It allows creators to establish parasocial intimacy with their viewers. Come shop with me, they say, as if you're a friend tagging along on their weekend errands. But unlike a real-life friend, this one has perfect lighting, curated music, and a haul big enough to furnish an entire wardrobe. Consumption becomes not just entertainment, but connection. What's striking is how emotionally driven the cycle is. People often watch these videos not just for inspiration, but for comfort. There's something soothing about the rhythm of unboxing, the clean visuals, the predictability of the format. It taps into something primal, a sense of plenty, of security, of belonging. But like fast food or reality TV, it leaves many of us feeling strangely unfulfilled afterward. It's satisfying until it isn't. So we have to ask, why is watching someone open 15 Shein packages more emotionally impactful than actually owning and wearing a single high-quality item? The answer might lie in how we now value experience over ownership. The moment of unboxing is fleeting, but potent. It's a climax of anticipation and instant gratification. Once the item is folded into your drawer, it loses its shine, quite literally. But the watching, the revealing, and the sharing, those moments feel electric. In haul culture, it's not about the product, it's about the performance. Ultimately, what we're consuming is not clothing or makeup, it's a fantasy of control, beauty, abundance, and identity. And as long as that fantasy keeps selling, the haul videos keep coming. But if buying things isn't really about the things themselves, what is it about? Chapter 4, Why We Keep Filling the Void. At this point, it's clear that our obsession with buying goes far beyond utility. We're not just replacing worn-out shoes or stocking up on shampoo. We're medicating something deeper. Purchasing has become a form of emotional self-regulation, a way to soothe boredom, stress, or loneliness. It feels like a quick fix. You click, you buy, you feel better for a moment. But then the package arrives, the thrill fades, and the underlying feeling, the void, is still there and untouched. And there's always that buyer's remorse too, where you're like, oh God, now I probably need to return this. And this phenomenon is known as emotional substitution. We reach for material things when what we really crave is connection, control, comfort, or purpose. When life feels chaotic or overwhelming, consumption gives us a sense of agency. We might not be able to fix our jobs, our relationships, or our existential dread, but we can upgrade our skincare routine or redecorate our apartment. It's a manageable task with a tangible reward. Then there's the social layer, consumption as identity in a digital culture obsessed with aesthetics and personal branding. What we buy becomes shorthand for who we are. Are you a Glossier girl or a Rare Beauty fan? A minimalist or a vintage maximalist? We curate ourselves through things, using products to declare allegiance to certain tribes, whether that's cottagecore, clean girl, or streetwear. The algorithm reads us like a mood board and serves us more of what we already like, reinforcing our choices and deepening our identification with consumption itself. Social proof also plays a key role here. When we see others buying, especially those we admire or relate to, we're more likely to follow suit. This isn't new. In the 1950s, it was the Joneses. In the 80s, it was your classmates and neighbors. Today it's influencers, YouTubers, and TikTok creators. The only difference is scale. We're no longer comparing ourselves to a handful of people in our community. We're being bombarded with curated lifestyles from every corner of the globe 24/7. And let's not forget about instant gratification. We live in a culture that rewards speed, food delivered in 20 minutes, streaming content on demand, DMs answered instantly. In this environment, buying something becomes another way to satisfy the hunger for immediacy. The delay between desire and reward is shorter than ever. Add to cart, Apple Pay, same-day shipping. The buzz of I did something hits almost instantly, even if that something doesn't actually move us forward in any meaningful way. What's particularly striking is how much this mirrors historical patterns. In post-war years, consumerism served as a balm for collective trauma. After the uncertainty and deprivation of war, shopping was framed as patriotic restorative. In the 80s, amid economic anxieties and shifting family structures, malls offered a glittering escape. Shopping has always stepped in where emotional security was lacking. What's different now is how seamlessly our emotional triggers are monetized. Algorithms know when we're vulnerable, when we've been broken up, been laid off, or just spent too long doom scrolling, and they deliver temptation right to our fingertips. Pop culture reflects this tension beautifully. Even anti-consumption trends like thrift flipping, minimalist aesthetics, or decluttering challenges are steeped in the language of consumption. A thrift haul may reject fast fashion, but it's still a performance of acquisition. A minimalist unboxing may feature fewer items, but each is carefully chosen, brand named, and aesthetically pleasing. Even rebellion is monetized. We're consuming simplicity, buying our way into ethical living. The void hasn't disappeared, it's just rebranded. So let's be honest, when we say we need something, do we really mean the object, or do we mean the feeling it promises to deliver? A new skincare serum promises better skin, but what we really want is confidence. A trendy jacket may offer style, but we're really buying acceptance, attention, or transformation. We're rarely honest about this, even with ourselves, and yet deep down we know no amount of perfectly folded outfits or aesthetically pleasing office supplies will fix our loneliness, boredom, or self-doubt. And still we keep buying. We keep chasing the next high, because sometimes the fantasy is easier than the reality. The package on the doorstep offers hope, however fleeting. This isn't to say all consumption is bad. We live in a material world, and things do have value, but the line between healthy desire and compulsive accumulation has become increasingly blurred. The problem isn't that we consume, it's that we've started consuming as a default emotional response. What if instead of asking, what do I want to buy next, we ask, what do I need to feel better right now? What if instead of filling the void with things, we got curious about the void itself? Because the truth is, buying more might feel good in the moment, but it rarely makes us feel whole. And until we confront what's missing, no cart will ever be full enough. Looking back, it's clear that each generation has used consumption as a way to manage emotion, define identity, and search for meaning. In the 50s, families turned to gleaming new appliances and perfectly manicured homes to find stability after the chaos of the war. In the 1980s, malls became immersive spaces where teens and adults alike could lose themselves in curated fantasy worlds of neon lights and branded logos. And today, TikTok hauls offer a scrollable stream of instant gratification, turning shopping into content and consumerism into aesthetic. But through all of these eras, one truth remains. The thrill never lasts, the buzz of the purchase fades, the novelty wears off, and we're left chasing the next item, the next trend, the next fleeting high. It's not that stuff can't bring joy, it's that we often ask it to do the emotional heavy lifting that only deeper things can provide. So what if we redefined aesthetic? What if beauty wasn't just in the products we buy, but in the lives we build through relationships, creativity, growth, and intention? What if we saw our time and intention as more valuable than our shopping carts? Maybe the real aesthetic is a morning spent reading, a dinner cooked with love, or a phone call with someone who truly listens. So next time you feel the itch to buy something, pause and ask yourself, what am I really craving right now? Is it comfort, confidence, belonging? And is there another way to meet the need? One that doesn't involve another package on your doorstep? Let me know in the comments below. Are you guilty of any of this? I mean, I do this a lot with skincare, I find. Like, I get this obsession thinking like, oh, this will be the next best serum. It'll be amazing. And I know that's kind of like my problem area, not so much with fashion, but again, skincare is definitely like my guilty vice. So it's interesting to think about things that way. So thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments below if this video resonated with you, if you have any of your experience with like online shopping. Do you kind of have to stop yourself? Because it is like a consumption treadmill, but it's interesting to think about the deeper meaning. So let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Thank you, Cookie Jam, for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to use the link in my description box and pinned comment.